Well, evening again, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday night's pub quiz, 8 o'clock here on my channel on YouTube, which you can subscribe to, or for any other information on up-and-coming quizzes, do have a look on Twitter. There's the link there if you want to have a look at that. Same sort of rules as the last few weeks. If you played, it's all just for fun, which is always worth remembering. So please be lenient with me in comments if there's anything potentially wrong in any of the questions, or more importantly, the answers. The live chat's on at the moment if you want to put any comments on, but I'll switch it off during the quiz itself just to avoid anyone putting any answers on and spoiling it for people. But there is a break in the middle, a 5-minute break. I'll put the live chat on during that again. And at the end, if you want to write any comments, write what scores you've got, it's always good to hear from you. But I think without further ado, we'll get on with the quiz. So for those of you who've played it before, very much the same rules. 5 rounds of 10 questions. And in each round there's a bonus question as well. So there's 12 points available in each round, so hence a total of 60 points for the whole quiz. At the end of each round as well, a minute's thinking time just to sort of get your answers complete. After 3 rounds, we'll have a marking of the first 3 rounds, get an idea of the score, and then we'll have a 5-minute comfort break just for you to stretch your legs, grab a drink, whatever you need to do, and then we'll come back and then there'll be a further 2 rounds, and then we can see who's got the top score this week. So if I switch off the live chat now, but as I say, that'll be switched on during the 5-minute break as well. And I think, without further ado, get on with the quiz. First round this week is science. And question 1 in science is, what 2 measurements are required in order to calculate your BMI, your body mass index? What 2 measurements are required in order to calculate your BMI? So we're quite quick fire with the questions, so leave a little bit of thinking time. But as I say, at the end of each round, there is a minute just to finalise any answers you weren't sure of, which you can make a note of as you go along. So we go on to question 2. In 1947, which American pilot broke the sound barrier in the X-1? In 1947, which American pilot broke the sound barrier in the X-1? As ever in these quizzes, I'm not overly bothered too much about spelling, so if there's any small typos on the answers that people have had, if you're marking for another team, then just be lenient with them. As I say, it is all just for fun. But moving on, question 3. What element does graphite come from? What element does graphite come from? And we'll move on to question 4. Question 4 is, what is the patella bone more commonly known as? What is the patella bone more commonly known as? So we are going through quite quick fire. The whole quiz usually takes about 55 minutes, an hour or so, and that's with the breaks at the end of each round and the 5-minute break in the middle. We'll move on to question 5. Question 5. Who is credited with inventing the telephone? Who is credited with inventing the telephone? Okay, then in each round, like I say, there's a bonus question. It always comes after question 5, and in some ways related to question 5. So in this round, science round, we're asking for the bonus round, what nationality was this individual? So the answer to question 5, what nationality was this individual? And there's 2 points when it comes to marking these questions, the bonus ones. All other questions, 1 point each. So the bonus question again in the science round, what nationality was the individual that you answered for question 5? And then back onto the single point questions again. Question 6. What chemical element is commonly known as quicksilver? What chemical element is commonly known as quicksilver? And question 7 in the science round. What is the centre of an atom called? What is the centre of an atom called? And moving on, question 8, just 3 more in this round. Question 8 is, in the equation E equals mc squared, what does m stand for? In the equation E equals mc squared, what does m stand for? And then the penultimate question in the science round. Which gas do plants absorb from the atmosphere? Which gas do plants absorb from the atmosphere? So just one more question, question 10 in the science round, but there is the minutes at the end of the round as well, just for any questions you weren't sure of. But question 10 is, which two main metals have to be combined to make bronze? Which two main metals have to be combined to make bronze? So that brings us to the end of the first round, science. Like I say, there's a minute now just to finalise any answers you weren't sure on in that round. There's a minute at the end of every round as well, so it gives you a chance to catch up with any other answers you might not have. So I'll pop a quick minute on the clock now, and then we'll come back for round 2. Okay, so that's that minute's thinking time over for round 1, so we'll move quickly into round 2, which this week is TV anagrams. TV anagrams. So the 10 answers in this are all anagrams for TV programmes. They're all comedy programmes as well. So they'll give you the anagram at the top in quotation marks and also one of the actors or actresses who was in the programme as a further clue. So the first anagram is an anagram of Menu Doubter. Menu Doubter. And they're all comedy series, this one starring Hugh Dennis. Again, there'll be a minute's thinking time at the end of this one, so if any of the anagrams you're not sure of, just jot them down on the side of your paper, you can have a little think then. But we'll go through just as quick as the other rounds as well. So the second one in TV anagrams is Enter the Newbies. Enter the Newbies, which is a comedy series starring James Buckley. Moving on to question 3 in anagrams. The Bored Affairs. The Bored Affairs, which starred Leslie Joseph. Question 4 in TV anagrams. Advancing Yeast. Advancing Yeast. Comedy series that starred Ruth Jones. So, as I say, for any of these, if you're not sure, just jot them down. There's a minute's thinking time at the end of this, or you could use the minute's thinking time at the end of round 3 as well, if needed, before we mark the first 3 rounds. Question 5. Touting Goon. Touting Goon. Comedy series starring Lee Mack. And as in all the other rounds as well, there's a bonus question after question 5 that's in some way related to that as well. And the bonus question in TV anagrams is, for 2 points remember, what year was this first aired on BBC? What year was the programme in question 5 first aired on the BBC? So again, 2 points for that when it comes to marking, but we'll go back to the single point questions. Question 6 in TV anagrams. Torched Wit. Torched Wit. And that starred Chris O'Dowd. Then comes question 7 in TV anagrams. Coffee Hit. Coffee Hit, which starred Ricky Gervais. Some of these slightly easier than others, perhaps. And that brings us to question 8 in TV anagrams, which is Theft Dare. Theft Dare. Comedy series that starred Dermot Morgan. And then on to the penultimate one in TV anagrams. Question 9 is Drained Lines. Drained Lines that starred Victoria Wood. And then the last one in TV anagrams. Botched Evil Fairy. Botched Evil Fairy. And that starred Dawn French. Botched Evil Fairy. That brings us to the end of round 2, TB anagrams. Again, though, we'll have a minute on the clock just to finalise any of those anagrams that you might have jotted down and not quite got. But we'll put a minute on the clock before we move on to round 3. Okay, so that's the minute's thinking time over for that round, which takes us nicely into round 3. And round 3 this week is comedians, and it's a picture round this week. Picture round, so there'll be 10 pictures of comedians for you just to recognise and write down. Also a bonus question as well, but 10 pictures of comedians. And the first comedian. No clues, just the picture. Okay, moving on to comedian number 2. A little bit more thinking time on that one. But we move on to comedian number 3. Let's have a look at comedian number 4. And then question 5. And question 5 will have a bonus question related to this as well afterwards. And the bonus question, 2 points for this when it comes to marking, related to that question 5 is, which university did this comedian study at? Which university did this comedian study at? So even if you didn't know the name of the comedian in question 5, it's always worth a guess. And then we go back to the single point questions. Question 6 in comedians. Which comedian is that? Moving on to question 7, which might be one of the easier ones, hopefully. Question 7, which comedian is that? Three more to go in the comedian picture round. Question 8. Just name the comedian. That brings us to the penultimate one in the comedians round. Question 9. Again, just name the comedian. Question 10, the last one in the comedians round. Again, as ever, just name the comedian. So that brings us to the end of round 3. There'll be a minute's thinking time just to finalise any answers on that round, or the 2 previous rounds to that as well. But then after that minute we'll come back and then we'll mark the first 3 rounds to get an idea of the score. And then we'll put the live chat back up and have a 5-minute break just for you to go and grab a drink, let the dog out, stretch the legs, whatever you need to do. But before all that, we'll have a minute now just to finalise any of your answers from the first 3 rounds before we mark them. Okay, so that's the end of the first 3 rounds. So what we'll do now is we'll mark the first 3 rounds, get an idea of the score before we have a 5-minute break. I'm just going to read the answers out quite quickly. I'm not going to put the answers on the screen, so just mark them as you go along. But as ever, just remember spellings and things, not too bothered about. If someone you think's got the answer, then may as well mark it as correct. So the first round was science. First question, what 2 measurements required to calculate your BMI? That is both weight and height. Weight and height. Second question, in 1947, which American pilot broke the sound barrier in the X-1 plane? It was Chuck Yeager. Chuck Yeager. Question 3, what element did graphite come from? It comes from carbon. Question 4, what is the patella bone more commonly known as? It's more commonly known as the kneecap. Question 5, who is credited with inventing the telephone? That'll be Alexander Graham Bell. Alexander Graham Bell. Then there was a bonus question following that, which again, if you get, is for 2 points. All the bonus questions are 2 points. But what nationality was this individual? What nationality was Alexander Graham Bell? He was Scottish. Back to the single pointers. Question 6. What chemical element is commonly known as quicksilver? That is mercury. Question 7. What is the centre of an atom called? That is the nucleus. Question 8. In the E equals mc squared, what does M stand for? It stands for mass. Question 9. What gas do plants absorb from the atmosphere? That's carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide. And then question 10. Which 2 main metals have to be combined to make bronze? That is copper and tin. Copper and tin are the two metals that need to be combined. So if you mark that round there, as I say, each of the rounds is a maximum of 12, so it should be 12 points for that, but we'll mark rounds 2 and 3 now before we have that 5-minute break. Now, round 2 was the TV anagrams. The first one was Menu Doubter, starring Hugh Dennis. That was outnumbered. Outnumbered. Question 2 was Enter the Newbies, starring James Buckley, and that is The In-Betweeners. The In-Betweeners. Question 3 was The Board Affairs, starring Leslie Joseph. That is an anagram of Birds of a Feather. Birds of a Feather. Question 4 was Advancing Yeast, starring Ruth Jones. That's an anagram of Gavin and Stacey. Gavin and Stacey. Question 5 was an anagram of Touting Goon. Touting Goon, starring Lee Mack. And that is Not Going Out. Not Going Out. Now, a bonus question related to that was, what year was that first aired on the BBC? Not Going Out. It was first aired in 2006. 2006 was the year. 2 points if you got that. Question 6, back to the single points. The anagram Torched Wit, starring Chris O'Dowd. That is the IT Crowd. The IT Crowd. Question 7, maybe the easiest of the round. Coffee Hit, starring Ricky Gervais, is, of course, The Office. The Office. Question 8, that was Theft Dare, starring Dermot Morgan. And that was Father Ted. Well done if you got that one. Question 9 was Drained Lines, starring Victoria Wood. And the answer to that one is Dinner Ladies. Dinner Ladies. And then the last one, Botched Evil Fairy. Botched Evil Fairy that starred Dawn French. Well, that was The Vicar of Dibley. The Vicar of Dibley. So again, possible 12 points in that round, so just keep an idea of your scores as you go along. Now we'll quickly mark round 3, the comedian picture round, before we have a 5-minute break. I'll switch a live chat on during that as well if you want to write down your scores, what you've got, any other comments, that would be great. So we'll mark round 3 comedians. The first comedian was Romesh Ranganathan. Romesh Ranganathan. Question 2, the second comedian was Stuart Lee. Stuart Lee, that was. Question 3, the third comedian there pictured is Lee Evans. Lee Evans. Question 4, the fourth comedian, that's Sarah Pascoe. Sarah Pascoe. Question 5, the fifth comedian on the picture round, that was Richard Herring. Richard Herring. And then a bonus question after that for 2 points. Which university did this comedian study at? Which university did Richard Herring study at? He studied at St Catherine's College in Oxford. Oxford was the university he studied at. Question 6, the comedian was Josie Long. Josie Long. Question 7, again maybe the easiest one on the board, that was Rob Brydon. Rob Brydon. Question 8, the comedian pictured there was Milton Jones. Milton Jones. Question 9, the comedian there is Noel Fielding. Noel Fielding. And then the last one in the round, question 10, the final picture was Tim Vine. Tim Vine. So again, possible 12 points for that, so that makes the total possible of 36 for the first 3 rounds. What I'll do is I'll switch the live chat back on now, but we'll have a 5-minute break now, just for you to go and grab a drink, bite to eat, stretch your legs, whatever you need to do. But we'll have a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back for rounds 4 and 5 and final marking. But 5 minutes on the clock, starting now. Okay, so it's like a quick 5-minute break. Flew by quite quickly, but hopefully it's enough time for you to have done what you needed to do. But I think we'll go straight on with round 4. See if anyone can get up into the 40s, mid-40s. It'd be good to see. A couple of scores of 30 plus seemingly so far on the scoreboards, and mid-high 20s. So 40, mid-high 40s is very much an option. But round 4 this week is technology, so we'll plod on through with this. Question 1 in technology is: in which year did Steve Jobs introduce the first Apple iPhone to the public? In which year did Steve Jobs introduce the first Apple iPhone to the public? And the live chat's been disabled just now, just to save people not putting answers on or anything like that. But I will put it on at the end after these next 2 rounds and the final markings. Question 2 in technology: what are the first names of Nintendo's Super Mario Brothers? What are the first names of Nintendo's Super Mario Brothers? And I need both for the point. Again, there is a minute at the end of this round as well, just to finalise any answers you're not sure on, so just make a note if you're not sure. So we'll plod on quite quickly. Question 3 in technology: what was the name of the spacecraft in which Yuri Gagarin made history by becoming the first man in space? What was the name of the spacecraft in which Yuri Gagarin made history by becoming the first man in space? Moving on, question 4 in technology: what does IBM stand for in the name of the IT company? What do the letters IBM stand for in the name of the IT company? And move on to question 5. What country has the internet domain abbreviation .jm? What country has the internet domain abbreviation .jm? And then we come on to the bonus question in this round, which is a 2-pointer, in some way related to question 5, the previous question. What is the capital of this country? So the country from question 5, what is its capital? 2 points in the marking when it comes to it for this one. But then coming back to the single point questions, question 6 in technology: what is the highest digit that can appear in an octal number system? What is the highest digit that can appear in an octal number system? We'll go on to question 7, and that is: which personal home computer, released in the UK in 1982, was referred to during development as the ZX81 Colour and ZX82? Which personal home computer, released in 82, was referred to during development as the ZX81 Colour and ZX82? 38 years ago. So we'll move on to question 8. Reminder, there is a minute at the end of the round as well if any of these you've been unsure on or need to have a bit more thinking time. But we'll move on. So question 8 in technology is, what is the meaning of the letters CC with reference to email? What are the meaning of letters CC with reference to emailing? If you CC someone. And then question 9, the second last one in technology. How many bits are there in a byte? How many bits are there in a byte? And then the last question, question 10 in technology is, which university was Mark Zuckerberg attending when he launched Facebook? Which university was Mark Zuckerberg attending when he launched Facebook? So that brings us to the end of round 4, technology. As with all the other rounds, we'll have a quick minute now just to finalise any answers you weren't sure on, and then we'll come back, we'll do round 5 before we do final marking and see what the final scores are. But a minute on the clock now. So okay, so that's the minute's thinking time over for round 4, technology round. So we'll move straight into round 5. Same every week, round 5 is general knowledge. And the first question in general knowledge is, which modern day country was known at the beginning of British colonial rule as Ceylon? Which modern day country was known at the beginning of British colonial rule as Ceylon? Question 2 in general knowledge. The Gravelly Hill interchange is better known throughout the UK by what nickname? The Gravelly Hill interchange is better known throughout the UK by what nickname? Question 3. What is the American equivalent of the British postcode? What is the American equivalent of the British postcode? Question 4 in general knowledge. What is the traditional wood used in the making of an authentic Australian didgeridoo? What is the traditional wood used in the making of an authentic Australian didgeridoo? Now move on, question 5. Single point for question 5, but there is the bonus question after this. What alternative name for the killer whale is also the name of the boat in the film Jaws? What alternative name for the killer whale is also the name of the boat in the films Jaws? And then the bonus question related to this for 2 points as well when it comes to marking. Who directed the film Jaws? Who directed the film Jaws? So again, 2 points for that when it comes to marking, as all the bonuses are, if you haven't given yourself 2 points if you got them earlier. But we'll come back to question 6, which is a single point question again. And it is, what was the name of the rag doll in the 1950s children's TV series Andy Pandy? What was the name of the rag doll in the 50s children's series Andy Pandy? And that brings us on to question 7. Which genre of literature is judged for the Nebula Awards in the United States? Which genre of literature is judged for the Nebula Awards in the United States? Just 3 questions to go in the round and the quiz. Question 8 in general knowledge. Which reggae band are best remembered for their successful 1982 single Pass the Dutchie? Which reggae band are best remembered for their successful 1982 single Pass the Dutchie? Just 2 questions to go. Question 9 in general knowledge. By what name is the fruit the Chinese gooseberry better known? By what name is the Chinese gooseberry better known? And that brings us on to the last question of round 5 and the last question of the quiz. In 1978, who was the first female singer to achieve a UK #1 hit with a self-written song? In 1978, who was the first female singer to achieve a UK #1 with a self-written song? So that brings us to the end of round 5, general knowledge, and the end of the quiz. So I'll have a minute on the clock now just to finalise any answers you're unsure of in that general knowledge round or the technology round before. Then we'll come back and mark those 2 rounds to get an idea of any final scores. But a minute's thinking time now, just before we come back to do the final marking. Okay, so that's the final minute's thinking over for those last 2 rounds. So hopefully you've managed to get all your answers in, because we'll come to marking now for rounds 4 and 5. Same as before, I'll just read out the answers, so just mark them as we go along. And if you want to be fair on spellings and things like that, that's always a good idea. It is just for fun at the end of the day. But round 4, if we start with the marking on that. Question 1, in which year did Steve Jobs introduce the first Apple iPhone? That was in 2007. 2007. Question 2, what are the first names of Nintendo's Super Mario Brothers? One of them's maybe easier than the other. First brother Mario and his brother Luigi. Mario and Luigi. Question 3, what was the name of the spacecraft in which Yuri Gagarin became the first man in space? That was Vostok 1. Vostok 1. Although I assume you take Vostok as an answer, but Vostok 1. Question 4, what do the letters IBM stand for in the name of the IT company? That's International Business Machines. International Business Machines. Question 5, which country has the internet domain name JM? That is Jamaica. Jamaica. And then the bonus question on that, what is the capital of this country? The answer to that is Kingston. Kingston, Jamaica. 2 points for the bonus if you got that. Question 6, what is the highest digit that can appear in an octal number system? The highest digit is 7. 7, not 8, 7. Same as in decimal, the highest number is not 2, it's 1. In an octal system, the highest number would be 7. Question 7. Which personal home computer was called the ZX81 Color and ZX82? That was the ZX Spectrum. ZX Spectrum. Question 8. What is the meaning of CC with reference to emails? It stands for carbon copy. Carbon copy. Question 9. How many bits are there in a byte? There are 8 bits in 1 byte. 8 bits in a byte. And question 10 in the technology round. Which university was Mark Zuckerberg attending when he launched Facebook? He was at Harvard. Harvard University. So if you want to mark those quickly, there should be 12 points maximum for that. Hopefully we're doing okay here. One more round to mark, which is general knowledge. Question 1 in general knowledge was, which modern day country was known as Ceylon? That was Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka. Question 2, the Gravelly Hill interchange is better known by what nickname? It's better known as Spaghetti Junction. Spaghetti Junction. Question 3, what is the American equivalent of the British postcode? We have postcodes, they have zip codes. They have zip codes, ZIP, Zone Improvement Plan, zip codes. Question 4, what is the traditional wood for making an authentic Australian didgeridoo? They are made from eucalyptus. Eucalyptus. Question 5, what alternative name for the killer whale is the name of the boat in Jaws? That is Orca. The name of the boat and the name of a killer whale. The bonus question after that for 2 points. Who directed the film Jaws? That was Steven Spielberg. So 2 points if you got that. Question 6. What was the name of the rag doll in the 1950s children's series Andy Pandy? She was known as Luby Lou. Luby Lou was the friend of Andy Pandy. Question 7. Which genre of literature is judged by the Nebula Awards? That is science fiction. Science fiction is judged in the Nebula Awards. Question 8. Which reggae band are best remembered for their successful 1982 single Pass the Dutchie? That was Musical Youth. Musical Youth. Question 9. By what name is the fruit Chinese gooseberry better known? It's better known as the kiwi fruit. Kiwi fruit. And then the final question, question 10. In 1978, who was the first female singer to achieve a #1 hit with a self-written song? That was Kate Bush. Kate Bush. So that ends the quiz there. There should be a total of 60 points there. Hopefully we'll get some scores up on the live chat. I'll just make that live again. You can pop all your comments in there and see what people's scores got. A maximum of 60. As usual, anything over 45, nearer 50 is a very, very, very good score. But put your comments in there, put your scores. There'll be another quiz like this the same time next week. And if you want to keep following on YouTube, that's great. Or any more information, look on my Twitter pages. But for now, that's that. I'll leave live chat open now for about 5-10 minutes if anyone wants to put any comments on and put their scores. But I'll see you all next week. Thanks again. Bye now.